What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fight Pit segment here at House Call Sports. I'm Sam, that is Caleb, and that is Justin. And today we're going to go ahead and review WrestleMania 40. It was an absolutely insane event, one for the books. And we're going to go through it match by match, give our thoughts on WrestleMania as a whole, and what we were doing exactly when WrestleMania was happening. Before we get into that, a word quickly from Vivid Seats. Ladies and gentlemen, Vivid Seats is the most trustworthy and easy to navigate ticketing website. They have a reliable and rewarding ticketing website and a 100% buyer guarantee, which means your transaction will be safe and secure, and you will get full service customer care and be compensated for any canceled events. And it's got the only ticket rewards program around. And all that means is, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new champion, and you can go see him using Vivid Seats. Go to your local house show. It's going to be absolutely awesome seeing a brand new era, the Triple H era. Go get your tickets at vividseats.com. Hit the link in the description and go sit vividly. Now, wow, what an event. WrestleMania 40, one of the greatest main events of all time and one of the greatest shows ever produced by WWE and one of the greatest shows ever. Point blank, period. I don't think anybody can deny that. With that being said, before we review each and every match from this WrestleMania card, a stacked WrestleMania card, Caleb, Justin, it's time to do a bit of reflection. I'm going to go ahead and ask all of you guys this. You guys feel free to chime in. I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys this. What were you feeling after that main event on night 2? What feelings were you feeling at that point? And just take a second to really reflect on how this WrestleMania, what you were doing during this WrestleMania, how you reacted to this WrestleMania. Caleb, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Well, I think I was feeling what everybody else was feeling, excitement for what's to come. The new champions are crowned, especially with Cody Rhodes. We're going to have a full-time champion, defending week in and week out, being there full-time. I'm excited for it. The new era, breath of fresh air. Thank you, Roman, for everything you did, but welcome in the new champ.
That's awesome. Yeah, thinking of Roman Reigns leaving, it's very sad. I've seen all the pictures, but honestly, the Roman fans kind of make me feel no remorse. They're kind of unbearable. I'm not going to lie. Bloodline stands are unbearable. I love Roman Reigns, and I daily acknowledge my tribal chief, the other one too. But unfortunately, it's just with them, it's kind of hard to acknowledge them. So, Justin, I'll go to you. What were you feeling during this event, man?
I'll be honest with you. During night 2 of WrestleMania, I was like really nostalgic and reflecting because you realize going into night 2 that we're witnessing the end of an era and we are going to be witnessing the beginning of a new one. Like, we can say what we want about Roman Reigns, about the bloodline, about bloodline fans, because they are crazy. I'll give you that much. But Roman Reigns was one of the main people that was holding it down in WWE during the COVID era, during this like weird in between when they started letting fans back in. And him, Seth, and others really put the company on their back for like 4 years and really for the last 10. So it was really just a nostalgic feeling of like, damn, like I witnessed all of this. Like, I was in college when all of this really started. And to go from that to like, I'm really witnessing something brand new coming to it. So it was really a lot of reflection going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and give you guys my spin on this. I was with my dad. My dad was a big wrestling fan. Unfortunately, his studies grew him apart from it. We're from the DR, and apparently in the DR, they really love Ric Flair. They really do love Ric Flair. So I'm a big Ric Flair fan due to that. I'm not really a fan of his work today, so I'm not going to get into that. But I will say this. When you're with people who love wrestling, who love pro wrestling, like you, it just amplifies everything so much more. Being with people who really were invested in Cody finishing his story, or Drew McIntyre and his match with Seth Rollins and finishing his story. And this entire WrestleMania was really based upon a lot of stories. And, you know, finishing the story did not just mean Cody's, clearly. It meant the story of the era that Roman Reigns really, you know, spearheaded. And without Roman Reigns, let me just say this: without Roman Reigns, I don't know where the WWE is, because the fact
He
is,
saved the WWE.
the WWE, yeah, I mean, they were at the mud. I remember when the pandemic hit, it looked like there was no hope. The television, just wasn't good. It got me to not watch WWE anymore at that point. Years I went without watching WWE until eventually I got back into it. And as I gradually saw Roman Reigns week after week after week carry this company and make SmackDown the premier show of the two brands, SmackDown and Raw, it was just an absolute, I'll say it was an honor seeing the Tribal Chief in action. And to go off in the sunset with that kind of match to end night 2, it was absolutely phenomenal. And it really, I'm never going to forget it. It was one of those moments where you look back 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, we're going to look back at this moment right here. And that was the good old days. That's how we're going to be looking at it. With that being said, no, go ahead, Caleb. Go ahead.
Would you say it's equivalent of the Undertaker, Triple H, and HBK Hell in a Cell end of an era thing, or do you say it's a little bit less or more?
I'd say, I'm gonna say it might have exceeded that. That's the length I'm willing to go. I'll say it. This is the greatest WrestleMania I've ever seen. And might be the greatest WrestleMania ever, from a storytelling standpoint, from a match standpoint, from top to bottom. One of the greatest WrestleManias ever. Top 5 at the very least. This is an all-time great WrestleMania. I don't think anybody should be. I don't think the work that these people put in should be at the slightest understated. This is an all-time great WrestleMania. And with that being said, let's go ahead and break it down match by match. We're going to try to not take too long on each match, but we're going to give both of these performers their flowers. So however long that takes is however long that takes. First matchup, Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch for the Women's World Championship. Guys, I'll be honest with you. This match right here, when I first saw it, I could tell something was off. And it wasn't until I really listened to the commentary where I realized that's why. And it was Becky Lynch literally having a 102-degree fever, and performing in WrestleMania.
Did she also have
That's
strep throat
ridiculous.
too?
She did have strep throat too. Think about that. That is
Workhorse.
That is the Jordan food
Absolute
game. And mind
workhorse.
you, it's cold. Yeah, and mind you, it's cold. So, and that's at least that's what the Philly crowd is telling us. That's what the forecast said. It was very cold that night, and Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley put on a show. There's even a report where Rhea Ripley literally had a panic attack and then went out there and they put out a banger, considering the circumstances. Now, was it Rhea versus Charlotte? Look, Rhea versus Charlotte was quite frankly one of the greatest women's matches of all time. That standard is going to be very, very difficult to even reach. So I don't like comparing it to that. But I will say that I think this match was good. It was even great considering the circumstances, and it was a great way to open up the show. Justin, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on this match?
I will be honest, it wasn't one of my favorite matches. I'll be honest, putting the circumstances in there really does put a cushion to the blow, because I've gotten the honor of seeing Becky Lynch wrestle ever since her days in NXT. She is a workhorse performer, which is perfect because her Seth Rollins are pretty much the workhorses of WWE. And to see her willing to put her body through that while dealing with strep throat, while having a fever, while performing in 40-degree weather in Philadelphia in an outdoor stadium, it's truly a remarkable thing about her character. Going into the match itself, before we heard everything during commentary of what was actually going on, it felt more like we're going to continue putting Rhea over, because even if you look at the entrances themselves, Motionless in White came out, was performing for Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley had that WrestleMania entrance that we all seem to come to expect every year around this time. And Becky Lynch came out literally through her book. So it felt more like we're going to continue putting Rhea over. But at the same time, we're also going to help Becky promote her book even further on the biggest stage possible. So that's what that match really felt like. They put on the best show that they could. And that's what I will always appreciate Becky Lynch for sticking it out no matter what. But that's why that match was like not necessarily near where like the top women's matches I've seen in WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, I mean, if we're comparing it to some of the women's matches that we've had like in the past like 10 years, or rather ever since there was the women's championship was introduced back in WrestleMania 32, yeah, it can't light a candle to most of them, but I will say the circumstances do help. I gotta say, I had no idea. I had no idea about Motionless in White and how they did the entrance to Rhea Ripley. I'm not a big hard rock fan like that, but I will say I was impressed because the stadium clearly like had like I couldn't necessarily hear them, but what I could hear, they sounded pretty good. So also it got me hyped seeing Rhea Ripley get like that entrance. Like it was just when I saw the entrance, it was like, okay. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious who's winning this. Also, I thought like the match itself was just like, I think the finish to me is great because of the riptide onto the turnbuckle. I thought that was dope. And then the riptide after that, it was just, there was a sequence where she, there was like, it was kind of like Santi said this in one of his podcasts. It was kind of like an RKO out of nowhere. They were like kind of maneuvering, and then Rhea Ripley just turned it into Ripley like this. And it was just, I think that move has grown on me ever since like she was on NXT. Because I remember back in NXT, I was not necessarily the biggest fan of it, but she's definitely
she's certainly made it more impactful.
Yeah, she has made it. Yes, absolutely. Caleb, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on this match?
For the most part, Justin took it all in my mouth. But the one thing I will say is just going into the match, Becky having that self-doubt, saying, am I really this good to fit into this generation? Am I really going to be able to rise above what I used to be able to do? And just like, oh, shoot. I just lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. Let me restart.
Ahead, keep going. You're good.
So, but yeah, it was just like, while watching that, there was one point where I thought she was actually going to win, even though I knew Rhea would. When she was on that top rope and hit that manhandle slam, I was like, oh shit, this is it. She's going to win. But then as soon as she went down, Rhea hit that riptide. I'm like, well, there you go.
Let me tell you, man.
In general,
the near falls have been so much better ever since Triple H got like over creative. Like I promise you, every single time. Too. Like in the Vince McMahon era, it was obvious. It felt obvious when somebody was gonna win. Not like the Vince McMahon era in the past, but rather like in the 2010s, 15 and on. It felt like, okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah, there you go. Like it's gonna kick out here, and then the near falls in the WWE have been so much better. They've been unpredictable. So
the announcers have helped that so much too, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just one of those aspects of the Triple H era that I really appreciate. Like you don't know anymore. You really don't. So I definitely appreciate that for sure. Now, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on. The next match was the 6-pack ladder match. And I'll just go ahead and say it. This was my personal favorite match of night one. It was absolutely bonkers. It was a car wreck. It was everything I could have wanted. Justin, I'm going to go to you. What exactly did you think of this match? Okay,
so this was, for the longest part of night one, this was actually my favorite match until another one that we'll talk about later on. But it was unique. It was a twist on like the classic ladder match that we typically get during WrestleMania. Because not only were you competing for one set of tag team titles, they had both of them here. And kudos to whoever came up with that idea, because to me, that was the perfect way to split the titles. Because for so long, we've had this unified tag titles with the Usos, with KO and Sammy, with Judgment Day. So it felt like it was time that if we're going to go into a new WWE year, let's reset everything. And what I love about these like 5-team matches is that it introduces us to newer tag teams that most people tend to overlook. Like you got who's the ones that actually won? DIY, A-Town Down Under, New Catch Republic. Like these are guys that unless you tune in week over week, you never really hear their names. And to watch A-Town Down Under, which is one I was really thinking of because they ended up winning the SmackDown titles, it gives you that opportunity to know more about them, because a lot of people know about Austin Theory, but not a lot of people know a lot about Grayson Waller. And Grayson Waller, I've seen him in NXT. He is a talented competitor. Really good on the mic too, which is something rare for somebody that's like in that newer mid-card space. So I love the opportunity to have them, especially as that heel tag team in SmackDown, because you also have teams like the Street Profits, like AOP, that can have good rivalries with them. And then turning it over into the Raw side, where we ended up getting Awesome Truth winning. That was just pure storyline, because for the longest time this whole year, it's always been R-Truth either with or against the Judgment Day. So the fact that R-Truth, who has never won a WrestleMania match up until this past weekend, who really hasn't had much success in terms of title runs, I'm not counting the 50 times he's won the 24/7 title. I'm not counting that one at all. But for him to have his moment in WWE, in WrestleMania, because outside of WWE, he was a really successful heavyweight title contention competitor. I remember watching him in TNA, which was the first time I ever seen his name. And for him to pretty much mold himself into like this fan favorite comedic act in WWE, and for him to finally have that moment, is just pure storytelling right there. But I don't think that lasts much longer, but it's great nostalgia.
Yeah, I don't think they last that long with the titles either. I definitely think this is a transitional rate to get like a real. No, I don't want to say a real tag team because that's mean to Awesome Truth. They do consider themselves a real tag team, but the truth is, Awesome Truth is just one of those like, you know, comedy tag teams that had a feel good moment at WrestleMania, and you always want to have those feel good moments, and in a show that like really like emphasizes moments very much. So I loved A-Town Down Under winning the titles. I think they definitely deserved it. I discussed this. There was a rumor that Dave Meltzer put out that that they were not going to be a part of WrestleMania, and I gotta say, Dave Meltzer has become more unreliable to the day. So I never really took his comments seriously, but I think it really was Triple H being a bit petty, deciding, you know what, you have this like little sheet where, you know, they're not going to be a part of WrestleMania. I'm going to give them the tag champs. And this is good because what this does, I love it, because Logan Paul and A-Town Down Under are pretty much like associates, I guess. And I think that faction, more or less, dripped in gold, is just, that's how you get heat right there. So I think it was a great decision to have A-Town Down Under win. And then Awesome Truth, like I said, transitional reign. That segment during Monday Night Raw was absolute gold. I'm cool with R-Truth being on my television with a championship or without a championship. Him getting his WrestleMania moment was awesome. I really, really pray and hope to God that they give it to the next tag team champs. It's given to a team that like really deserves it. If they want to give it back to Judgment Day, I wouldn't be opposed to a team with Finn Balor and JD McDonough. I would not be opposed to that, but something tells me Triple H doesn't really like repetitive booking that much, so I don't think he's going to do that. But whatever team wins it, I think they should have a lengthy title reign, and hopefully they put on some bangers, man. Caleb, I'll go to you next. What do you think make of the six-pack ladder match, and what do you think of the winners?
Car wreck, exactly what I thought it was going to be. Just a fantastic overbooked car wreck. It was really just a spot fest too. Like, you watch AEW, you watch that, you're not going to know much of a difference. There's super kicks, there's flying off the ladder. I mean, the only thing I was really upset about is when DIY did not pull down one of the championships. But then again, you can't be mad about that because Grayson Waller and Austin Theory deserve it, like you said. And R-Truth needed that moment. He never had that WrestleMania when he finally has his moment. So, I mean, can't be too mad about that.
Just feel good, right?
Well, yeah, but don't be too disappointed. Don't be too disappointed, because I have a sneaky suspicion, because you have Awesome Truth and DIY kind of linked together. If we could get a heel DIY against Awesome Truth for the tag titles,
I don't know. Here's why I don't think that works. I think you got to turn one of them heel. I think Tommaso Ciampa operates at his best as a heel. And I think Triple H is gonna try to lean towards that. Look, Triple H is good at like rehashing some stuff from it that he did in NXT. I'm also anticipating a Pete Dunne heel turn. Like, I genuinely think Pete Dunne and Tommaso Ciampa are going to be, at the very least, trying to get to the main event scene eventually. DIY is going to win the tag titles eventually. I think they're getting over with the crowd, and that's really important, especially. And that slow burn heel turn, I think, will absolutely be cinema, as the kids like to say. But I don't hate the idea of heel DIY. I think they're both good as heels, but I think Tommaso Ciampa as a heel just makes so much money. It'd be such good stuff. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and go to the next match, which is Andrade and Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio, the kid, and Santos Escobar. Caleb, I'm going to go to you first.
I thought it was stupid. I thought it was really stupid. They need to have that moment for Dominic Mysterio to go over his father, and I'm surprised they didn't go that direction. They had Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, which, if you're not a Philadelphia Eagles fan or football fan, who the hell are they? Like, is it really going to make a difference? What do they have to provide for Rey Mysterio? Because they've never had a story with him before, and helping him win that when he did not need that win, I don't know. I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all.
I'll say this. The ending was dumb. I think we can all three of us can agree that the ending was very, very stupid. Because it didn't really contribute to storyline.
No.
Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce are cool guys, you know, but just because Jason Kelce wears a mask once doesn't mean he deserves the spotlight at WrestleMania. And
did you hear the story on as to why that happened?
Yeah. Okay. So I think there is no real story. They literally just did it because. But I do remember Jason Kelce wearing a mask one time at a club, and somebody took a picture of him, and it went viral on Twitter. Yeah. That's cool. That's not a reason for him to get a WrestleMania moment. Maybe if they introduce Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson at the beginning, and then the match happens, and maybe they get involved a little bit. That's cool, but them being the de facto like reason that Andrade and Mysterio won the match, I completely disagreed with that. And also, Rey Mysterio did not need that win, and neither did Andrade. You can protect Andrade and have Dominic Mysterio go over his father, redeeming the loss that he had last year, and at the same time continue storyline, which it's not a bad storyline, the LW and Legado. It's a good storyline. You can continue that storyline with a Carlito heel turn all the way to Backlash. And if you want to pay off at SummerSlam, you really could. There was a shot to really do something at WrestleMania that was memorable. The crowd was not in it, which didn't really help. But I will say this. The overall body of work in the match was good. It was a good match. Yeah. Andrade stole the show. It was great. But the entire problem was the finish, in my opinion. So, Justin, I'll go to you. I'm pretty sure you'll agree with us, but what do you think?
I'm so glad you said the two words that I was going to say. Missed opportunity. And here's why I'm saying this. I'm going to start with the match first. The match is a classic Lucha Libre match. That's like what we all want to see when you see Andrade, Santos, Rey Mysterio, all of them. You want to see that kind of style. But in a storyline progression, they missed the mark on this one. And this is probably one of the few misses I've seen Triple H do. And this is why I say that. Let's turn the clock back like a week or so ago. This was supposed to be Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee tag teaming. And then Dragon Lee on SmackDown gets attacked. And it just so happens that Carlito's the one to find him. And after that, that's when the whole thing with Andrade kicks in and Rey Mysterio picks Andrade and then tells Carlito, you miss a golden opportunity for a Carlito heel turn in that moment. Why? Because I'm pretty sure I might have to go all the way back to WrestleMania 21 to think about this, but I'm pretty sure Carlito has never had like an actual WrestleMania moment. He's had a match at WrestleMania, but he's never had his moment in WrestleMania.
Right.
So in his mind, because I'm looking at it in his brain too, I'm like, I got passed over twice for a WrestleMania moment this year. And that seeps in a person, no matter who it is. So you missed an opportunity to have him, let's say if he's by himself, turn on LWO and then align himself with Santos and with Dominic. Or, and this is what I thought when I saw the two masked guys come out that turned out to be Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey, I thought he had hired goons come out and just jump all of them. And now all of a sudden we have a third Latin faction to worry about. So I feel like they could have went so many different directions. And going back to my childhood years, a heel Carlito is a Carlito that will sell tickets. Not this LWO Carlito that just is like the muscle of the group.
Yeah, I agree. Look, Triple H's long-term booking. Look, this WrestleMania has its payoffs, and the payoffs are here. But I felt like the crowd really needed a jolt, and the match itself was good. The body of work was good. There were some great spots. The match wasn't the problem. It was kind of the execution of like the story. And Carlito turning heel, they're probably going to say that for a SmackDown, I guess, and that's cool. But WrestleMania is where you need to have some kind of moment. And you said it yourself, Justin. Carlito has not really had his moment. So it's pretty ridiculous. The match overall I liked. So it wasn't a down part. It was not like a down part in the entire PLE. It really wasn't. I was on my feet for it, but it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So overall,
another thing can really
go ahead.
The only thing I can also nitpick too, it's probably really stupid, but when Jason Kelsey threw Dominic Mysterio at that ring post, shouldn't that be disqualification from outside interference? Because the ref was looking right at him.
I think the ref was some kind of like distracted or something. I thought I saw the ref distracted, but look, it's just a dumb thing to do at WrestleMania at a big spot like that. It just is. Like there's no real like ifs, ands, or buts about it. Them being involved kind of took away from Dom. It took away from Santos Escobar. It just didn't make sense. I thought Andrade looked like $1 million though, so that's good. I think Andrade looking like $1 million matters, especially since he's like you're trying to make him. And also, I'm cool with Andrade getting the win at WrestleMania, and then having him get that WrestleMania win and then a heel turn, so that you put Carlito. Also, a Carlito versus Andrade feud sounds fire. I don't know why they won't pull the trigger on that. Look, there were so many things that I just felt like Triple H could have really pulled the trigger on, but alas, we couldn't find to that point. Now, next we're gonna go to another low point, unfortunately. Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. Easily, hands down, the worst match of the night, in my opinion, and easily the most disappointing match of the night. Let's be very serious about this. I think Jey Uso himself is a very good in-ring performer. I think Jimmy Uso can be a good in-ring performer. They're good. I think they both can be very good singles performers. They have no chemistry, and it showed. And it's kind of shocking that they had no chemistry, considering they literally trained together. It felt like there was moments in the match where I see they were trying to do something. And maybe looking back at the match, I could like maybe find some bright spots, but the crowd, again, this is a theme in night one. The crowd was not really into it. They were not. And I know the weather is like a whole thing and night two was better, but the crowd in night one was terrible. We'll put it that way. And the match suffered from it. So, this is definitely a low point. The worst match of WrestleMania 40. I've seen some bad low points though in the past WrestleMania, so I'm gonna give it a pass. I definitely don't think I definitely don't see perfect PLEs everywhere when we look at any promotion. So I'm gonna give it a pass. It's definitely a thumbs down for me. I expected a lot more. It needed a stipulation, and with that, I'll go ahead and turn to you, Caleb.
I mean, yeah, I have a lot of things I do want to say, but I don't want to say it for too long. Like you were saying, it needed stipulation. This is a blood feud. It's more than wrestling at this point. It's family. You had Jimmy Uso stab Jey in the back at WrestleMania saying, I don't want to become the next tribal chief. I want to become like Roman Reigns. And then costing him that title against Gunther, costing him the tag team titles. This goes beyond wrestling at that point where it's family. And just like, the match felt rushed too. It's like they tried to add that drama, but that drama didn't feel like real drama. When Jimmy was begging Jey for mercy, that felt so forced. If that was a stipulation, like Jay's going to smash him with a chair or whatever, that would have felt a lot better. But no, it's just like, and then also, this might sound a little ridiculous. The super kicks were absolutely stupid. That was stupid.
I think we can all agree with that. Yeah,
that was so dumb. It ruined the whole match. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a downer right now. These two matches were only two matches I didn't like on the card. So.
Yeah, we'll get to another match that I was kind of iffy about later, but I definitely think that this match was a low point, and it needed a stipulation. Last man standing, last oos standing. Like, it was, you could have done something with these two that would have made it a memorable WrestleMania match, really like extend their comfort zones, but I think they just really wanted to have I think the Usos themselves wanted to have a one-on-one match. Just grabs. Like, it wasn't no shenanigans, no tables, no chairs, no ladders, nothing, none of that. The one thing I want to point out is this. When the Hardys went 1v1 at WrestleMania, I think it was 25, they did not want grabs. They wanted a match that suited them. And an Extreme Rules match absolutely suited that feud. So that's what made that match so memorable, and that's why everybody really is endearing to those brother versus brother matches. We have the Hearts, we have the Hardys, and we were supposed to get a good match with the Usos, but unfortunately we didn't, and it just kind of it seems to be a theme for the back-to-back matches, a bad taste in my mouth. But Justin, I'll go to you.
So I'm glad that you bring up the other brother versus brother matches, because history of WWE, there has been three. There was Bret and Owen Hart, there was Matt and Jeff Hardy, and then there was the Usos that we had. Now, here's the thing that unfortunately made this match fall through. The thing that Bret and Owen Hart had is the fact that they are great in-ring competitors. They are technically speaking, very gifted wrestlers in their primes. Matt and Jeff Hardy, they had that stipulation, an Extreme Rules match, something that they both made their careers off of. So not only were we missing one of those things, we were missing both of them. And it was another wasted opportunity, because WWE leaned in on the fact that they were brothers. They had interviews together talking about it. They had that very, very good video package about their history as brothers, saying like they were their brother's keepers and now they're not. And you built this storyline in there that was so great, but the match unfortunately fell under because technically speaking, as wrestlers, their movesets, because they're so identical, they clash. They have very limiting movesets that are the exact mirror image of each other, because they do the exact same things. They're both high flyers. They both have super kicks. The only difference is Jay has a spear also. And on top of that, not having the stipulation, something that can like add another layer of depth in that story. Because Caleb, you're right. That like little mercy thing that Jimmy did, it did feel forced because he was just about to get super kicked. That was it. Now, if this was something, in my opinion, should have been an I Quit match, or as we were joking in the chat, an I Yeet match, where you either make the person say yeet or no yeet. If you had one of them threaten the other with a steel chair and making them say it, then all of a sudden, now you got more depth. Now you have Jay maybe with some kind of weapon second guessing, like, this is my brother. Do I really want to hit him? And Jimmy's like not going to second guess at all. And I'm just going to bang a chair over your head. Now you got more depth in the story, which is an overarching theme of WrestleMania. It's like the conclusions of a bunch of stories. And then the fact that this is also one of the bloodline stories that was ending after this also just made it more disappointing.
Yeah, it's look, I think the video package and their segment in night 2 where they fought on the ramp, that entire thing was better than their match, and it was more hype than their match. We were invested in that. It felt like the feud overall was kind of not lackluster, but it was lacking. Like something was missing on that feud. The buildup could have been better. Yes, there's a reason why the match is happening, but not a lot of promos, not a lot of anything going on other than, yeah, you're my brother, I'm your brother. Let's fight because you cost me a title. Like, there was so much more that you could have. There's much more of a story you could have told with this.
It also felt like a pandemic era match.
That, oh my goodness, Caleb, you read my mind. If literally it was a pandemic era match, it would have been a lot better. I was literally just about to say that before you.
Oh shit! Now I feel bad.
No. It's all good. It's all good. It's good. We're telepathically in sync. That's good. That's
unlike
good.
them.
Yeah, literally. We have more chemistry. We have more chemistry than they did on the match last night, and they were twins together. It's ridiculous. But look, I'm not going to hold it against them. I think if this was the low point, it's a low point I'm willing to accept considering the rest of the matches were good. Speaking of the rest of the matches, we have the 6-man women's tag team match between Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill versus Damage Control. I thought this match was good for what it was. It was 8 minutes, not a lot of time for any of them to do anything technically sound. Everybody got their moment. But Jade Cargill, I think this match was completely built around her and her hot tag, rather. And that's good. I think if you want to make Jade Cargill a star and you still want to protect Jade Cargill a little bit, absolutely, I agree. Put her in hot tags. I saw a recommendation from Sancho West, and it's a recommendation I think would not be that bad. Sancho West recommended that you keep these three together, have them become a faction. They're calling themselves the Big Three or whatever. Have them become a faction and build up some sort of feud. Build them some sort of feud with Damage Control, or maybe build another women's faction and have them feud with them. Whatever it is, it needs to lead to an either Bianca Belair heel turn or a Jade Cargill heel turn. One of these two has to turn heel eventually. Right now, I think Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill both have way too much star power, way too much fandom for them both to turn heel, or even one of them to turn heel. So for now, it's fine. Have them do their little babyface shtick. Absolutely. Down the line, a heel turn needs to happen. Overall, I think the match was pretty fun, honestly. I want Asuka to win a WrestleMania match really, really bad, but she's a legend, so I think she'll get it next WrestleMania for sure. I think Triple H knows that Asuka deserves her moment at WrestleMania eventually, but they're kind of just going to wait it out a little bit. Caleb, I'll go to you. What did you think of this 6-woman tag team match?
Well, first things first, I'm glad it wasn't a squash match like a lot of people were saying. It let Damage Control shine. Each woman had their moment. You got to witness what they could do on the big stage, see if they could deliver. They did that just right. And also did what you said, made Jade Cargill look like a monster. That's exactly what they needed to do when they had her win that match. I forget. Did they do a triple pin? I forget.
What?
They did a triple
during the match. Was it like a triple pin or is that a different match? Oh, I'm thinking of the Raw match between Judgment Day and Cena.
I think you're thinking of a different match. Yeah.
You're thinking of the Raw.
Yeah, that's my fault. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
But again, so pretty much it did what they set out to do, made Jade Cargill look like a badass, and then really all I have to say, it was good, passable, B+.
B+. I don't know if I'll rate it a B+. I think it's like a B-. I definitely like the hot tag. I think Jade Cargill is an absolute beast. Just money all over her from the entrance. I thought both entrances were really good, which is good. I think, and like you said, Caleb, both of them shined. Like both teams shined, and I think that's very important. Justin, I'll go to you. What did you think of this?
I did not like this match. I'm not gonna even lie. I knew from the moment this match got booked that this was just a Jade Cargill one moment, show that you are a badass kind of match, which theoretically is fine. But the fact that this wasn't really built up, unless you count the 2 times that Damage Control jumped Naomi and Bianca, that's the only times you can say oh, this was built up for this moment. No. But I will say, and I'm probably over reading into things because apparently Triple H likes to do long-term bookings. If you look at the entrances for Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi, if you've seen when Jade went, first of all, she went first, but you see her entrance pretty much got cut short and then went straight into Bianca. Now, this might be me reading into things a little too deep, but that could be sowing seeds for a possible Jade Cargill heel turn, because now you're looking at Bianca like she's supposed to be the de facto leader of this trio, and Jade's gonna look and like, I don't need to be following you. I could take care of my damn self. And that could possibly lead to a heel turn for Jade Cargill. Because in the little bit of AEW that I have seen, Jade Cargill works best as like that very arrogant heel that knows she's the best. Kind of like Rhea Ripley in a way, except Rhea Ripley has way better mic skills than what Cargill has right now. Probably that will come with time, but maybe reading into this, that's what I think may happen.
Well, my entire thing, I definitely think you're reaching just a tad bit, but I wouldn't bet against it, because Triple H is that, he likes sowing those seeds for those heel turns. From the facial expressions to the subtleness, he likes being subtle with it, and when fans like us notice it, it's just cinema. So if that is the case, and this is part of it, power to you, Justin, because I didn't really see it. I didn't see any kind of hint there. If you saw it before me, then, that just means you have an eye for it more than I do. But I think Jade Cargill does work better as a heel. But right now, that kind of attitude is going to get her more liked than it is for her to get booed. And for her to get booed, she needs to turn on a baby face that really is loved. And, who better than the EST, Bianca Belair? So eventually the turn is going to happen. I feel it, but it's going to be a while. Next up, we have the match of the night. The de facto match of the night, in my opinion. Sami Zayn versus Gunther. I'll be very blunt about this. I was not very excited for this match. At first, because obviously Chad Gable. They built up Chad Gable way better than they could have ever built up Sami Zayn. They were kind of telling us that Sami Zayn was the underdog, and I was kind of just like, well, I know that. Like, I know he's the underdog. That's what he's good as.
That's his character.
And I wasn't really, that's his entire character. And that's cool. Excuse me, that's cool. But what changed in my heart was the way they did the entrance. And this is another thing that I want to discuss real quick. The production of the entrances and the camera work has been so fluid. It's like night and day compared to the Vince McMahon era. It's insane. It's actually nuts. The whole shot of Sami Zayn walking through that alley and him meeting up with his family, Chad Gable, and then the one that got me really hyped, Kevin Owens. Oh my goodness. It was just beautiful. And that won me over. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for Sami Zayn to win. That right there is the power of good camera work. And I think Triple H is aware of this, because everybody in that arena ended up wanting Sami to win, except for some of the Gunther fans, which I'm one of them for sure. I was one of them for a little bit. But the match itself, oh my goodness, what a masterpiece in storytelling. Gunther, I didn't think Gunther had it in him to tell a better story match than a better technical match. It was the first time I felt like he really did it, and he did it at a masterful level. And this is the Sami Zayn effect, 1000%, because it made Gunther feel unstoppable, but not unbeatable. And it made Sami Zayn, and that last 2 minutes of the match, it made him look like, it looked amazing. And the match itself was amazing. That brainbuster off the turnbuckle, that move is going to be remembered for years to come. And I'm glad that move ended up being the move that move on top of 2 haluva kicks was able to take down Gunther. It was such an amazing match. I don't think it was better than last year's Triple Threat IC title match, but a 5-star banger nonetheless. Justin, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on this match, man?
So I won't lie to you. When it turned out that Sami Zayn was going to be the one to fight Gunther for the title, I'm not going to lie. I was somebody who was like, I don't like this match at all. I thought it was going to be Chad Gable. They really did build up Chad Gable for that kind of moment. And then the build up between that moment and WrestleMania came. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I realized where WrestleMania took place, which was Philadelphia. If you look at the promos and you look at the walkout and you look at every moment, you think of Rocky. This was literally a Rocky kind of moment You have Sami Zayn, who did not have the most confidence going into this match. He was like, I can't do it. I'm scared. I'm not, like, I don't want to fail in front of my family. And then you have Gunther basically playing the evil, like, international villain, being like, yo, listen, I'm going to whoop your ass. And then that's it. And then Chad Gable's just like the wise man. That's like, I'm going to train you and I'm going to get your confidence back so you can do it. So excellent piece of cinema leading into this match. Every time Sami Zayn has a big tier match, it's always going to be good. Every time Gunther has a big tier match, you know it's going to be good. I really wanted Ilya Dragunov to be the one to end the streak, but apparently I'm not going to get that. I may get it something like that after the draft, which is going to be amazing because apparently Ilya is probably going to end up on Raw. But it was an excellent piece of work. And now that Sami Zayn is the Intercontinental Champion, I might be reading into things again. But if I can call one, if I'm willing to put a paycheck on one thing, Chad Gable is going to be a heel. And the reason I say that is because the Raw after Mania, there was a tag team match with Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. I think it was against Judgment Day, if I'm not mistaken. No, it wasn't against Judgment Day. It was against two other people. But I'm reading into Chad Gable's like body language, and I'm also looking at his singlet that he usually wears because he's usually wearing like a U.S. themed red and blue one. No, this time
I noticed that too. Yep.
But it's black and purple, which is kind of Judgment Day colors. So in my head, I'm like, ooh, if he doesn't beat Sammy in that IC title match he has, I think it's next week in Montreal. That's where you can see Chad Gable turn, because now he's like, I can't beat Sammy.
The thought of that sounds good, but I feel like there's a bit. The one thing about that I'm scared of is Chad Gable gonna be a believable, tenacious heel. I think he's a believable babyface badass. I think he's 1000% believable in that aspect. But a heel, I don't really see it. I really don't see Chad Gable anymore as that like badass heel. Really, well, maybe, but I just don't trust his promos as a heel, in my opinion. I've seen Chad Gable as a heel before. Didn't really like it. Granted, this was a different Chad Gable. Chad Gable's a wrestling machine, and making him a babyface wrestling machine is one of those things that I really love that Triple H decided to do with him. So, with that being said, I'll say this. This match, we knew it was going to be a banger, but I didn't think I'd care. And that's what I think WWE is doing so well, is making you eventually care about these matches. Whereas we wouldn't care about a certain match before at all heading into WrestleManias in the past, now we care. And I think that's an aspect that we really need to start appreciating. Caleb, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on this match?
Well, first off, you stole my damn words again there, Justin. God, about the Chad Gable heel turn. I wanted to say that, but God, I mean, like you guys were saying, it was an absolute banger. What could you really expect from that? Gunther, Sami Zayn, both 5-star machines in their own right in the independent scene. I mean, what was I going to say? I always do this.
While you get your train of thought back, I do also want to bring up one other thing about Sami Zayn that always impresses me every year. It's Ramadan, and Sami is a devout Muslim. So he's literally doing all this while fasting, having these 5-star matches. So just pointing that out there.
That's ridiculous. That's very impressive too. Caleb, you found it?
Yeah. So, during the match, when Sammy was getting beat down from those multiple splashes, I'm like, oh shit, don't tell me they're going to do the cop-out finish with it being like a referee stoppage. I was so worried it was going to end that way. I wonder if I was the only one that was thinking that.
I was definitely worried about that too. Yeah.
I was like, come on, don't end it like this. That's just like, but then when they show him start flopping around like a fish out of water, I'm like, oh shit, wait, what's happening right now? Like, I was about ready to fall off my bed laughing for that shit.
I think Sami Zayn's the only person that can get away with that. I don't think anybody else can.
It was funny, but it was also great, if you know what I mean.
It was great. He's like hulking up, but it's like a good hulking up. It was like one of those hulking ups that was endearing, and it felt like Philly, you know, not like Philly, but like Rocky Balboa-esque, more or less. It was just a great storytelling match. It was a great technical match. It was a banger, and it definitely brought the crowd back to life, and it would lead to the very next match, the main event of night 1, which would be Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. We owe The Rock an apology. I'll go out and say it. He looked great. He sold so well. All of his
took
moves
multiple
were
bumps.
flawless. He took multiple bumps. He looked good, and he felt like the final boss. He really did. His entrance was bad.
That entrance, dude.
That entrance was nuts, bro. It was nuts, and thank God for it, because when I saw Cody and Seth Rollins come out, I was like, so we're just gonna have we're just gonna have normal entrances? Like, what's going on? This is WrestleMania. And then The Rock brought the heat, and I was thankful for it. My goodness.
I honestly kind of hated Roman Reigns' entrance. I honestly kind of hated that.
The night
Roman
one?
Reigns. Night 1, yeah. Wait, no, wasn't that one?
Night 1.
What was the one with the band?
That was night 2.
Night 2, I hated that one. That's for next time. I'll talk about that after.
Oh, that one was sick. What are you talking about? But look, we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second. But overall, I think I saw a lot of people complaining about the match early on. They have never seen Bloodline matches because it's a slow burn.
I was supposed to say
cinema.
It starts slow, gets better.
It started slow. Yeah, exactly. Caleb, go ahead, elaborate on that.
Because with every Roman Reigns match, he starts beating you down in the beginning. He talks his shit. He starts talking to the crowd, acting like he's a shit. And then towards that middle way point is when everything starts turning up. Big move, interference, big move.
Right. No, absolutely. And then eventually the crowd gets back into it, and Roman Reigns makes you feel, right? And then when you pair that with guys like Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes and then The Rock, that's really what makes that night 1 main event better. And it helped. The crowd obviously didn't help. I felt like the crowd was kind of just like, I felt like after the sequence when Cody Rhodes rock bottomed The Rock on through the announce desk, that was sick. And then the spear by Roman Reigns to Seth Rollins through the barricade, I was expecting some kind of chant, but to no avail. Look, that night 1 Philly crowd, all-time low Philly crowd, all-time bad crowd for WrestleMania. I don't care what anybody says. You say it's cold. If you're cold, make some noise. If you're cold, move around. Do something, bro. Like, I don't care, but that's enough about the crowd. Justin, I'll go to you. What did you think of this main event?
It went exactly how I thought it would go, and it went exactly how it should have went. Now, yes. I know we're going to give our flowers to everybody who helped make WrestleMania 40 the best WrestleMania ever. I'm giving my flowers for this match to The Rock, because he played that role of the final boss so well. Like, you're talking about somebody who literally, in the middle of the match, fighting outside, turned around and told the ref, if you count us out, I'm going to fire you. And it just like played into that character of being on the board, saying like, I can't do anything. That's my boss too. And it just played into that, because now you got Roman and Cody and Seth and Rock fighting in opposite parts of the stadium, and everybody's getting into it. Who was it? I don't know if it was Roman or Rock that hit him with a low blow in front of the ref, and the ref was like, I still can't do nothing about it.
It was Roman, I think.
The Rock did that, yeah, and The Rock like kind of awkwardly fell, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny seeing The Rock like kind of trip over that.
Yeah, but the way he also sold it, you guys mentioned it. He sold the spear. I sent that to Rob so quick. I was like, we need to meme this, because the face he made Roman Spear look like it almost took him in half.
My reaction when Jinder Mahal won the championship.
Yep.
No, that was...
But also, like, the ending part, like watching Roman tag in The Rock at the very end to give The Rock that one WrestleMania moment of pinning Cody Rhodes. It, based on how that interaction, the Raw after went, it seems like it did sow the seeds for a potential Cody versus Rock match down the road, because now it's essentially one win for The Rock and still nothing on Cody in that kind of rivalry that might be budding in the future. But the match itself went exactly the way it should have because the end of night 2 needed to be bloodline rules in order to complete the story.
Yeah, I definitely think that they made the right choice, like with everything in this match. The slow burn, the finish, it was genius.
Dude, that pedigree sequence too.
That pedigree. Oh yes, the spear into pedigree
That
sequence.
was
It was
sick, dude. I thought it was over right there. I'm like, oh shit, no way they do this.
Let me tell you, man, they cooked with this match, and I don't care what anybody says. That was an all-time great main event for that match. It was close to an hour, and it was just pure cinema for that entire hour. And that was just a testament to how great this WrestleMania truly was. And we're going to go ahead and transition to night 2. We'll kind of elaborate on Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes a little bit more later. But night 2, we got to discuss it. Let's just go ahead and say it. Was that the best cash-in history? It's got to be top 3. Damian Priest cashed in his money in the bank briefcase on Drew McIntyre. What was one of the all-time great finisher fest matches we've ever seen. On top of
4 Claymores?
4 Claymores is nuts, but it's so on brand for Seth Rollins. I don't know why. It just made sense. At least at that moment at WrestleMania, it made sense. But I gotta say this. I don't think there will ever be a scenario where Triple H can like overbook something. Like, it will never happen. We could have looked at Damian Priest as Money in the Bank winner and be completely like, man, like he's not going to do anything with the briefcase. He's going to lose it. Winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and cashing it in at WrestleMania to open up the show, hands down, in my opinion, a top 2 cash-in of all time. It might not even be 2. I genuinely might take this over the Seth Rollins cash-in. I genuinely might. And I know that might be a hot take. This cash-in, from the moment Drew McIntyre won the championship to the moment it was Damian Priest cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase, glorious. CM Punk finally snapping and ruining Drew McIntyre's moment in front of his family. And Damian Priest, by cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase, became a star. So Triple H turned somebody who looked like a mid-carder for most of the winter, for most of WrestleMania season, and he turned him and he made a WrestleMania moment out of it. Just an absolutely it turned the match itself, both matches technically, from a 9 out of 10 to like a 20 out of 10. It was absolute genius. It was one of the greatest cash-ins of all time. A certified WrestleMania moment that all of us are going to be telling our children. So, Caleb, I'm going to go to you. What were your thoughts on the entire process, that opening match and the cash-in, and what were your feelings when you saw it, man?
As an opening match, I was straight up exploding off my couch every time there was a kick out. Like when Seth got nailed that Claymore in the beginning, I'm like, oh shit, is it over now? Nope. Second Claymore, is it over now? Nope. Third one kicks out somehow. I'm like, dude, what the hell am I watching? Like, and then when he eventually won that match and the cash-in happened, I'm like, oh shit, is what I said is going to happen? Is it going to happen truly? Damian Priest cash-in, Claymore, done? No. Happened exactly the way it should have. Made Damian a star. Made Drew McIntyre have to chase that shit title for next Clash of the Castle, I think it is, right? In his home country. Gotta have his moment there. So, I mean, can't have any complaints about that. I love it.
Yeah, it was just, look, everything in that match. You can't start off a WrestleMania any better. You really can't. And booking wise, it makes sense. Mind you, we were talking about how Triple H could not book Money in the Bank winners correctly. And now look, I don't think we have any doubt. I think we're now excited again for Money in the Bank now that we just saw what happened during WrestleMania. Now, I definitely hope that they don't overdo this all the time and just have them cash in at WrestleMania. this being like once every like other decade definitely helps, but just a WrestleMania moment, man. I can't get over it. Like just all-time great. Go ahead, Justin.
Okay, I'm gonna bring us back to earth a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, here
This
we
is
go.
the
You're so
third
boring,
best.
Justin.
This is the third best. And the reason I say that is because Heist of the Century is my number one with Seth Rollins.
That's cool.
Edge's cash-in against John Cena at the end of Elimination Chamber is number two because that one set the stage for the idea of cashing it in on a champion when they're down. But now let's get into the match. Everybody gets a 5-star review of me for how that match went. Seth Rollins milking the knee injury, because if you see throughout that match, every time he did a stomp, every time he did any kind of move, he was favoring that knee injury.
I do want to say something about that. Doesn't Seth Rollins always get criticism saying he does not sell during a match? Doesn't he always get that criticism?
It was during the Nakamura matches where they were like, "You're not selling your knee, you're not selling your back, you're not selling anything." That was the
now
entire
look at
criticism. Keep going.
And now look, he learned that lesson and he was selling the hell out of it. Drew McIntyre, iconic moment now in WrestleMania. Him in the middle of the match grabs his phone and just starts tweeting from the crowd. He's like, "Yo, I'm bored at work." And now that tweet lives in infamy because he still lost. Matter of fact, actually, there was a fun reply after that. Guess who replied to that tweet after the cash-in?
CM Punk.
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny responded
to it, and he said, "Hope you had a nice shift at work."
Oh my gosh!
But going into it, this is how you do a Money in the Bank cash-in. Because Damian Priest had several opportunities where he could have cashed it in and several times where he tried to cash it in. He tried at War Games, and that was a colossal fail because Randy Orton came back. So for him to do it now, after CM Punk just had enough of Drew McIntyre's BS and just attacked him for all the slander and for the suck it right on top of the table too, it was just pure gold because now you set up a CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre event whenever CM Punk is available to compete again. And now you have a brand new champion in Damian Priest, who, in my opinion, has always had that star potential. I seen him in NXT as the Archer of Infamy. He had the charisma. He had the in-ring ability. There was just something missing in him. And I feel like after like the final form of the Judgment Day came in, you started seeing bits and pieces more of that potential coming out. And now look at him. The man has the World Heavyweight Championship. Got that on Sunday. Monday, he shows up on Raw. Tuesday, he was in the Bronx at a Yankee game because Damian Priest is actually from the Bronx. At a Yankee game, called part of the game. And Wednesday, he shows up on the bump. He's already handling being a champion because once you have that title, all of a sudden, you are the face of that company. And I feel like Damian Priest, depending on how they book his World Heavyweight Championship run, can be one of the faces of the company. He won't be the guy, but he could definitely be one of the guys. And for first opponent being Jey Uso is going to be a very, very fun test to see how that goes.
Yeah, and I was scared. Go ahead, Caleb.
I was going to say, this almost makes me wonder if CM Punk's whole plan the whole time, tell me if I'm overreading this, was to cost the person, whoever wins a match, cost him the championship in the end so Damian Priest could cash in just to make the rivalry even better. Was that his plan the whole time, maybe?
I think not for Seth as much. I think it's more for
Seth. I really think it was more for Drew. And by the way, another thing I want to add to that, who would have thought that not Seth, when CM Punk came into the company, back into the company, the match we wanted was Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. That's not even the case anymore. We still want it, obviously, but now the match we really want is CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, and that's the CM Punk effect, man. He makes you care, and Drew McIntyre is doing the best work of his career. I'm not saying it's because of CM Punk, but CM Punk is definitely bringing the best out of Drew McIntyre right now, and because of that, it's affecting others. Drew McIntyre is a star. Seth Rollins is already a Hall of Famer. Damian Priest got his moment and is now a star and is a champion at for a company that's at its highest right now. So look, this is look, WWE's at its hottest, and the fact that Damian Priest is looked at as a huge star and potentially a big draw is very, very encouraging and very endearing. And congrats to Damian Priest, because that to me, he deserved it, that moment. And I'm glad we have a true Boricua as our champion right now. So with that being said,
we'll get into that. We got three
of them. Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait to get into it. But next we have a match that I'm not necessarily going to talk about too much, and I don't think we're going to talk about it too much. I think they did its job. I'm talking about the Pride, Bobby Lashley, and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament, the Authors of Pain, and Karrion Kross. The match was fun. That's all it needed to be. It was a fun match. Babyface, heel. They were genius making this match interesting by having Bubba Ray Dudley be the special guest referee and then having Snoop Dogg on commentary. Genius level stuff to make this match mean something a bit more. Get the crowd engaged with this match. Getting an ECW original and throwing him as a guest referee. Just perfect. Not cinema, but really, really good. The match.
The table fell and the table broke.
Yeah, what's funny is that entire spot when the table broke, it actually kind of added to the match. Like the comedy of it really did. And when they brought out another table, the crowd popped again. So it wasn't really awkward. It was just really funny. And it kind of added to the WrestleMania moment. So look, I'll go ahead and say this. The best moment of the match for me was when Montez Ford flew from the turnbuckle. That was the best moment of the match for me. And Montez Ford, I really, really hope he branches out into a mid-card title holder eventually, because he has star and charisma written all over him. And you could see it. It's not just Bianca Belair that puts the power in that power couple. Montez Ford can go. So it was a fun match. I don't really want to get too into it. It definitely did its job. It was fun. I thought B-Fab had a good moment there. Scarlett looked fantastic, as she usually does. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. What did you guys think of the match? Caleb, I'll go ahead and start with you.
First off, Bubba Ray Dudley being involved in the match definitely helped with the intrigue a little bit more. It made the crowd a little bit more invested, especially that Spotlight took the glasses back off, put them back on. I love that.
Right,
good callback.
That was fire.
The only thing I can really say I didn't like about that match was just Snoop Dogg being on commentary. I know. People loved it. He took me out of the match. The way he was laughing when he stood at the table really pissed me off, dude. No, man, come on. I didn't like that at all.
Oh, man. You're sorry.
It has to be said.
Fun. Oh, man.
No.
Snoop Dogg. Okay, well, maybe Snoop Dogg, it's like an acquired taste. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, an acquired taste. But I don't know if that's the right wording for that. We'll stick with that for now, though. But Snoop Dogg is just a legend in show business and a legendary rapper, too. Look, I thought he added to the match. He's hilarious. If you've seen him commentating the Olympics, it's just comedy gold. So, Justin, I'll go to you. What'd you think of this match?
First of all, I need Snoop Dogg to commentate more matches. Just that's me. From the moment he started out in the face-off talking about, damn, this is like one of them hood fights. I was like, oh, this is funny. He's calling the table picnic tables. He's telling B-Fab, you need to watch it back. Got hit with the trash can. That's trash. Just like those little comedic quirks was perfect. And you see, like, this was one of the like matches that you didn't expect to be as good as what it was. Because overall, it was a fun street fight, yes. But also, it was like a little deeper root in there because they were paying homage to Philadelphia, to ECW, to the Dudley Boys. Just the way that they like had everything going. The second Bubba Ray put on them glasses, I was like, oh boy, we about to either see a what's up or we about to see a 3D. And guess what? We got one of them. And we got Montez like acting like Devon doing circles and then going like that to his opponent afterwards.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, Montez is so electric. Go ahead.
Montez needs a push as a singles competitor. Like I've been saying this for the last year and a half. Montez has the charisma. He has the athletic ability. The man's jumped all the way dang near to the second row. Like that's pure athleticism. he has star potential in him. And I think what should be done is we have the WWE draft coming up, and I would love it if they have to split up the Street Profits, because I think they could both be good as singles competitors. I think Dawkins is gonna be more of a mid-carder, but these guys have star potential. They just need an opportunity to be separate from each other. Tez, major star potential right there. So that's what I want more than anything to happen.
I think the faction already kind of started, and they tried to come off as heel, and the crowd was having none of it. And I think Triple H with a good audible, like, okay, these guys are baby faces. What are we talking about? And that's good, because Montez Ford as a babyface just makes sense. Angelo Dawkins as a heel, I think could do something. If we do get
wasn't he a heel at NXT at one point?
I don't think he was. I don't think
before he tied with Montez Ford, I thought he was because in like 2015 in his early NXT days.
Maybe old Angelo Dawkins, but ever since he got paired with Montez Ford, it was money. So I definitely think if they're gonna do a turn, Angelo Dawkins turning on Montez Ford makes just too much sense, and that's a feud that I would like to see, and a feud worthy of a PLE match for sure. Overall, just a fun match. Karrion Kross and AOP, not much to say about them other than I like them going to NXT. I think they needed Karrion Kross to really do something, and I think going back to developmental, I think it's been shown that going back to the developmental brand has shown to be very, very good. It did wonders for Baron Corbin. It's doing wonders for Natalya. She's already involved and she's already doing pretty well. Ivar went back the other day and he looks pretty. I'm 100% invested in an Ivar versus Obafemi match. So I think going back to NXT. Yeah,
I saw somebody say somewhere that Ivar should be like Finn Balor with the Demons, saying he only brings out the Viking when he has to.
Oh my gosh, I don't know about that.
No, I know about that.
If Ivar is going to make it as a singles competitor, this is the perfect opportunity for him to do it, because he was perfect with Eric as being the Viking Raiders, but Eric has been injured and he just had neck surgery not too long ago, so he's not coming back for a while.
Yeah, so I definitely think that any talent that goes back to NXT, it's for a reason. AOP and Karrion Kross are going to be dominant in NXT, and I think that's exactly what that brand needs, and it's what Karrion Kross and AOP definitely need. Next up, we have LA Knight versus AJ Styles. AJ Styles came out to a new theme, and it was okay. It wasn't anything special. They Def Rebelled it, is what I'm referring it to. So it's not really, it didn't stink like a lot of people are saying, but it's definitely just not really getting a reaction from me. The match itself was good. Definitely LA Knight's best match since getting on to the main roster. LA Knight's proving himself more and more the more he's on the main roster as a main event superstar. And I say that because going head to head with AJ Styles, who is a future WWE Hall of Famer, that speaks wonders on how much they trust AJ Styles. And also, this loss does not affect AJ Styles in the slightest. I love what Triple H is doing, putting these wrestlers into positions where they won't get buried. Losing does not matter now as much as it did back then. It does nothing to your stock. If Cody had lost in night 2, that would have been a big mistake because there's nowhere to go from here. AJ Styles can move on from his feud from LA Knight and do whatever he wants, wherever he wants to do it. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to where AJ Styles is going to go. I'm excited to see where LA Knight is going to go. Look, this match did exactly what it needed to do. The crowd was invested in this match. Overall, I think what's next is LA Knight goes for a championship. Got to be the United States Championship against Logan Paul. That is money. And I just think that these two have done a great job in this feud, making us care and not seeing it as a downgrade to have a title match, or rather a match with no title on the line at WrestleMania. They didn't really even need a stipulation. Unlike the Usos, where it desperately needed a stipulation to really mean something. This was a blood feud, but it didn't need a stipulation for the match to be good, just because AJ Styles and LA Knight are that good. So overall, this match is definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Justin, I'll go to you. What do you think of LA Knight and AJ Styles in this match?
I think this was the perfect feud to put LA Knight over and to keep him over, because let's be honest, over the last couple of months, it felt like just a bit that the hype that we all had for LA Knight started to die down just a bit. And it had nothing to do with LA Knight. It was just he wasn't really booked as much or had as much like time on the mic as he did when like everybody was chanting yeah, which everybody's doing it. Now it's like one of the top catchphrases of all time. But this was the perfect budding rivalry. And it was booked so well because you had two wrestlers who in the storyline legitimately hated each other. AJ cost LA Knight an opportunity at a championship match at Elimination Chamber, flying halfway across the world just to like bash somebody over the head with a chair. And then you had like the video of it in AJ's house, him jumping AJ in the front yard of his house. You had them fighting at the merchandise booth in Philadelphia right before the match over WrestleMania weekend. They was like, who put these two together? I'm like, y'all did on purpose. So this match did what it was supposed to do. It was meant to build up LA Knight to put him over, because now it makes more sense as to the United States Championship picture, because now you have an easy way of putting LA Knight with Logan Paul, who we will talk about, in Backlash or any other pay-per-view coming up for that United States title. Because that's the next step for LA Knight. We need to put gold around this man's waist.
Yeah, and I definitely think the feud needs to be, if we do get a feud between Logan Paul and LA Knight, it definitely needs to be a feud that goes throughout the summer. I definitely think it's a feud that we definitely don't want it to be like, oh, LA Knight faces Logan Paul and then LA Knight wins. I think we need a feud where LA Knight gets screwed. I think the Grayson Waller and Austin Theory being involved in this feud makes too much sense. If it does happen, of course. I think, look, like you said, Justin, both of these men are set up perfectly to do whatever they want. And it's another thing, a match that mattered at the end of the day at WrestleMania, and a match that was good at WrestleMania, and something, I don't know if it's a memorable match, but at the very least, LA Knight got his WrestleMania moment after not being a part of the card last year. Caleb, I'll go to you. What did you think of this LA Knight versus AJ Styles match?
Well, I'm going to be a little biased here. LA Knight probably is my favorite star in the WWE, so I can say this with my full-on heart, that this is probably his most fluent match he's had. Every match I've seen him in so far, there's been at least one minor botch, whether he's misstepping, whether he's not doing the right move the correct way. This was easily his most smooth match. Everything looked so fluent. Everything looked so crisp. And I think this is finally his coming out party. The only thing that I find really funny, too, is AJ Styles seems to have the worst luck at WrestleMania when it comes to lighting, because his match against Randy Orton at WrestleMania 35 had the lights facing at the crowd the whole time. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
And then he also had it this match, too.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I don't know why they do that with AJ Styles matches.
Somebody hits him in the back.
Yeah, it's just, my goodness. Like I just think overall that AJ Styles did the job. I think they can do whatever they want. And the good thing is AJ Styles can get into a feud with any main eventer and not feel out of place. So if you wanted to go up against Cody Rhodes and feud with Cody Rhodes as his next feud, that feud would make absolute sense, and it wouldn't really bury AJ Styles back down to the mid card, because again, AJ Styles can do whatever he wants, man. He really could at this point of his career. With that being said, we'll go ahead and move on to the triple threat United States Championship match between Logan Paul, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. This match had everything. This match, I don't want to say it was cinema. It's just, man, like it's just like Logan Paul always delivers, man. He just always delivers. And I'm at a point where I really want to see Logan Paul wrestle on a weekly basis, or like at least at every PLE we can. Logan Paul is just amazing. We'll call it what it is. And I'm glad he's going to full time to do this because he's earned it. He's 1000% like earned the stripes that he's had. The frog splash to finish the match was one of the greatest frog splashes I think I've ever seen. Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam would be proud. Like, it was just a beautiful frog splash. Involving I Show Speed, again, gold. And involving him with Randy Orton, no less, was again gold. It just, man, like, I hope this becomes a running thing where every single time Logan Paul has a match, he just involves another social media influencer. I hope next year maybe it's like Kai Cenat, so maybe he can get RKO'd. It would just absolutely just be cinema. That would be cinema right there. I thought the match overall was amazing, and something we'll definitely look back and say that Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens did it again. Caleb, I'll go to you. What did you think of this triple threat match?
Fireworks. Absolutely incredible. I mean, Logan's selling his ass off. Randy looking great. Kevin Owens doing what he normally does. I love that part when what's his name, Speed, revealed his face and started barking at Randy Orton. Then Randy Orton barked at him before he hit the RKO. That shit killed me. Oh, right in his face and just plants him. That shit killed me. That shit absolutely killed me. I mean, the only thing that I was surprised about too is when they were trying to build up Sammy night one by having him see Kevin Owens in the back. I'm like, okay, with Kevin seeing Sami Zayn, maybe he might win. Maybe they're trying to put that in your head. And then when he did lose, I'm like, oh, you know, maybe it's Triple H's way of saying that.
I like that they did that too, because it felt like Kevin Owens might actually win that night. It made sense. Yeah, and another thing I want to point out for sure is that Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, like Randy Orton specifically, is just so fluid in the ring still, and the same thing can be said about Kevin Owens. I know they've been doing this for a longer time, and it's you know, it shouldn't be surprising, but Logan Paul has chemistry with almost the entire roster. It's absolutely ridiculous, and with Randy Orton no less, it was phenomenal. So I think they should 1000% get their flowers. And I didn't think KO was gonna get pinned. I thought we might have gotten a new champion after I saw Kevin Owens' entrance. I'm not gonna lie, but Kevin Owens getting the pin again doesn't really do much for Kevin Owens. Did a lot for Logan Paul. I'm excited to see where these three men go from here. Justin, I'll go to you.
Well, I'm glad you say that because I have a hunch on how it's gonna go. But let's talk about the match first. First off, these are three wrestlers that are not only incredibly talented, but they can make like a comedic match and still perform at like a 5-star level. Because going from start to finish, I was laughing my ass off every 5 minutes, whether it was the segment with the brass knuckles, whether it was Speed revealing himself and taking an RKO, which, by the way, I'm not going to lie, if it wasn't for one YouTube video, I wouldn't even have known who that was. But I do love the fact that over the last 2 times, there has been somebody in the Prime bottle. The first time KSI, the second time Speed, and one of them are willing to take a bump in WWE. As for Logan Paul, I gotta give him the respect that he earns. He is really a student of the game when it comes to this professional wrestling. He's admitted this is the hardest thing possible. He puts in his time and effort in here with everything else he's doing. And he said it himself in an interview. He knows his role. His role is the social media guy. His role is to be the highlight reel and to like create these viral moments. And he admitted that, as well as having all of these wrestlers coming on to his show, Impulsive, and basically spreading more awareness into WWE. So in my opinion, Logan Paul is doing like the most in getting more eyeballs to this brand than I've ever seen anybody do. As for what is next, we've already talked about the potential of a Logan Paul versus LA Knight for the US title. But let's think about this too. What if we had a KO and Randy Orton tag team title run, potentially? Because you saw the way that they entered together on the four-wheeler. I think it was a four-wheeler. But those two in the last couple of weeks of SmackDown have shown to have chemistry with each other as individuals. And I think having them both as a babyface tag team against A-Town Down Under, they don't necessarily have to win the titles, but just to have that kind of like comedic feud between those four men is something that I will tune in to SmackDown every day of the week to watch. And it could also set up LA Knight and Logan Paul, because now you have those six men basically going at it against each other every week leading up to a PLE to have those two matches.
Right. And look, this is again another one of those things where Triple H, the possibilities are endless. You just said it, Justin. Like Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. You would not have thought of this maybe like 3-4 months ago about KO and Randy Orton becoming a team.
And I got the name, Team RKO.
Yeah, okay. All right. That's terrible.
Listen, they have rated RKO. I don't care.
I hate that. Just call him RKO. Like, just what are we doing? This is the good thing about Triple H. The team RKO, as Justin is saying cornily, is definitely a possibility given their history with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. So I definitely could see, and also that also creates potentially a gate for Randy Orton or Kevin Owens to turn heel. And we both know that Kevin Owens and Randy Orton are both great heels. So they can be heels and make it work. Now, with that being said, I'm curious to see, again, there's a lot of unknowns. We know Logan Paul is probably going to like defend his title against LA Knight because that's what everybody really wants. But with Randy Orton and KO, it's a bit of an unknown. But I think that's the beauty of everything. We don't know what's going to happen. And if you know, Triple H surprises us and makes the heel turns and all the special stuff happen on SmackDown, I'm absolutely all for it. Next up, we have our SmackDown Women's Championship match between Bayley and Io Sky. Bayley turning out to be the winner. I wanted a bit more storytelling in this match, but the match technically, to me, was the best match of the evening. I felt like it was not the best match of the entire night. That obviously goes to our main event, which we'll discuss in just a second. Bayley and Io Sky are incredible. And Bayley, I'm not the biggest fan of her new entrance theme music. But I mean, if that's the theme that we're going with, that's the theme that we're going with. I wanted her to go back to her hugger phase, but I think by now, I think that was more of a Bayley from the past, and it really doesn't make sense to bring that Bayley back considering how much Bayley has grown since then. Overall, the match itself was absolutely fantastic. I gotta say this about Io Sky. I wish she could have had more title defenses because she can go in the ring, man. She really can. I really hope that she continues to get more to be in the ring a bit more throughout the episodes of Friday Night SmackDown. She's definitely not necessarily a draw, but she is 1000%, and I kid you not, the best women's wrestler, in my opinion, on best women's pure wrestler on that roster. I genuinely believe that from my heart of hearts. Io Sky is absolutely amazing. Now, I'll go to you, Justin. What do you think of this match?
Okay, I'm going to start from the very beginning because even before that match started, we almost got the botch of the night. Because if you looked at Bayley's entrance, you know, she kind of had like the Cleopatra goddess kind of entrance, like 4 guys trying to carry her. One of the guys looked like he was about to fall. Like I saw knees buckling and everything. And I was just like, oh boy, we're about to get a WrestleMania botch like no other. But luckily it didn't happen. The storyline throughout the entire time leading up to this match, I love the whole damage control theme, like kicking Bayley out, Bayley figuring out that they weren't really her friends. But I wish we could have got that more in the actual match. Like Sammy, you said it best. I wish that I would have saw damage control actually come out because I feel like that would have made the win for Bayley a lot more sweeter, especially Dakota Kai, because I feel like Dakota Kai's betrayal for Bayley was probably the one that hurt more than anybody else. But going into the match itself, Io completely star player when it comes to in-ring ability. Like, she can go. She's a high flyer. She has technical ability. The way she kind of just like reversed out of Bayley's finisher the first time she tried doing it was just amazing. Like, I was just like, oh wait, she could kind of handle her own inside this ring. But then I thought about it, I was like, I used to watch her in NXT. I know she can handle herself in the ring. It's just we don't see her often enough to actually appreciate it. But the problem I have with this match is now that whole thing is over, now what? Because one thing I don't want for Io is for them to book her the way that they book Shinsuke Nakamura, where they basically turn them kind of into this like anime villain, and you only really hear them speak during like these promo videos. I don't want that. I want her to be booked more like Asuka is. Like, yes, Asuka, mic skills wise, because English is not her first language, it kind of lacks at times, but the energy she gives and her in-ring ability always more than makes up for it. And I want Io to have that kind of thing. Io still has a lot more like title, maybe not runs, but title opportunities and main event picture in her future if they can book her right. Bayley, I think the next best thing is to go basically through the rest of Damage Control, i.e. Dakota Kai, because I feel like the Kabuki Warriors, they still have to worry about their own tag titles first and foremost. So I think the next step will really have that Dakota Kai Bayley feel. But after Damage Control, what do you do after that?
Right. I'll push back a bit on the Nakamura thing. And the reason why is I think that made Nakamura a bit more interesting, his heel gimmick. I do agree that I feel like he just is more bark than he is bite, and it kind of makes him look a little bit bad. But I think Nakamura's character is a lot more interesting now that he's a heel, and those video packages, those anime style villain packages, I like them a lot. And I think during the Cody feud, the Cody mini feud, it did wonders for him. During the Seth Rollins feud, it did wonders for him. Yes, Nakamura doesn't really have a big win, and he doesn't really have a big like moment. But overall, I think that Nakamura himself, and I don't mean to make this entire thing about Nakamura, I think Nakamura really reinvented himself with that gimmick. But Caleb, I'll go to you next. What do you think about this Bayley versus Io Sky match?
Well, easily women's match of the year so far. That match was an absolute clinic, like you guys were saying. When Io Sky kicked up out of that, what's Bayley's finisher called? The Rose Plant?
Yeah.
Dude, when she popped out of that shit, I'm like, no way, dude. Like,
it was great.
I mean, I don't have too much to add about that because you guys pretty much covered everything I was going to say. I don't have too much to add, but I mean, again, phenomenal match of the year for women's match so far. Really all I got to say.
Until we get Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair. Then that becomes match of the year automatically.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, as of right now.
I mean, yeah. To be honest, I just want to get to the main event. And that match, that women's match was absolutely phenomenal. But that main event, match of the year, match of the decade, match of whatever you want to call it. It was almost made so much perfect sense. It was nostalgia done right. It was perfect. I'll say it was perfect. Every single run-in from every single superstar made sense. Think about that. And think of the names I'm about to mention that were involved in this. Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Solo Sikoa, John Cena, The Rock, and The Undertaker.
Seth Rollins.
In a match, yes, and Seth Rollins. Thank you so much, Caleb. In a match that involved Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, all those names somehow made sense. It made sense. It did. And Undertaker coming back, to me, was like, oh, I mean, Stone Cold coming back would have like popped everybody and no one would have cared about the narrative. But the truth is, not only did Undertaker come back and it popped everybody, but it made sense too, because one, it was because of course Undertaker would want to get one up on the person who was behind the 1 in 21 and 1 It made too much sense. Also, Roman Reigns getting one over on Undertaker back in WrestleMania. What was it? 33?
Yep.
30.
It made sense. John Cena with his feud with Solo Sikoa. Of course, it makes sense for John Cena to come back at that exact moment. Seth Rollins coming back in his Shield music to get into the head of Roman Reigns.
I thought Moxley was coming back for a second. I thought they actually got a deal done.
Okay, no, John Moxley would have actually made me like lose my mind, bro. But I didn't think it was gonna happen.
You would have yeeted everywhere.
Yeah. But regardless, look, everything about that match, technically from an in-ring standpoint, it wasn't a bad match either. It felt like a main event. The crowd was into it. Roman Reigns doing his classic talk trash, slow burn match, and it works every single time. And Roman Reigns, we're going to miss you because I don't think that title reign. Look, Cody Rhodes is not going to have as good of a title reign as Roman Reigns. Okay. I don't think that's really a secret, but I will know we will now have a champion that's here, and that's important. And Roman Reigns, while he goes and recovers and does whatever he has to do, I think Cody Rhodes will take the reins, no pun intended, and he will become the champion that everybody's wanted, a champion that's there every week, signing autographs, doing the champ things. So, look, what else is there to say about this match? Caleb, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on this main event, man?
To be honest, I'm still recovering from watching that shit, dude. I've watched that same match like 3 times in a row, just trying to get a collection of everything that happened. There was so many goddamn callbacks, but they were done to absolute perfection. It's like something Vince McMahon would do when he'd have a legend come back to help a younger star and absolutely bury the other guy. No, that's not what happened. John Cena came back. Guess what? The Rock beat him. Well, didn't beat him, but took him out. Because it took out The Rock. The Undertaker did. Then after that, everybody's gone. It's just down to Seth Rollins and Cody and Roman Reigns in that ring. And that beautiful storytelling at that end, when Roman Reigns could have chose to take out Cody and win the match, or forgive his past and take out Seth. That was absolutely beautiful the way they told that. Not forgiving his past, not forgiving Seth Rollins, and just letting Cody have that little edge to get back into the match and win it. It was fantastic.
It was absolutely fantastic. The biggest overbooked mess in WrestleMania history, and it was 1000% worth it, and it was making sense. Justin, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on this main event, man?
I have not been able to rewatch that match just because of the emotional roller coaster that it puts me through. And it's like, if you really analyze it from the very beginning, just look at Roman Reigns' entrance and look at him when he looks up. Like, you see in his eyes that it says, like, my reign is about to end. And he said it best back in 2021. He said himself, when my title reign ends, which can be sooner rather than later, that's when you're all going to acknowledge me. And he called it right. Like, the moment I saw him make that entrance, in my head, it was like, this is the last time we may see this man, either for a long time, if not at all. And the way that this match was able to pretty much tie up everything that we have seen over the last 10 years of WWE, it has just been masterful. Like, the way they had Cody Rhodes do his crossroads, he got it done the first time, and then he got super kicked when he tried to go for a second one. Then you bring out Jey Uso. Much better interaction between these two than their actual match in night 1. Then Cody Rhodes goes for 2 crossroads, tries to get up for the third one. Solo Sikoa comes in. Then John Cena comes in, the man that Solo Sikoa took out. Gets an attitude adjustment onto the announce table, which, by the way, also is a very important thing for the history of WrestleMania, because I was looking that entire time like, why is the Spanish announce table still up? That should never be up during a WrestleMania or any PLE. Spanish announce tables always need to fall. Anyways, back to it. So he gets that. The Rock comes out. Rock bottoms him. Everybody went back to that match between Cena and The Rock from 10 years ago and just went crazy. Now, I'm not going to lie. I was one of those people at the very, very beginning when The Undertaker came out. And I did say, like, why? But y'all hit the hammer, y'all hit the nail right in the head. It's because the two people that had a hand in Undertaker's only 2 losses has been Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. And now he's got revenge basically on both of them. So it was just masterful there. And then, of course, in the very beginning, until everybody started digging in, people were wondering, why did Seth Rollins come out with the Shield music only to get Superman punched in 5 seconds? Because there's a beautiful thing in psychology called classical conditioning, where if you constantly see and hear something, it triggers a memory and a response for that person. Roman Reigns hearing the Shield music and seeing Seth Rollins dressed in his Shield gear is the most triggering thing that has happened to Roman every single time. Because if you go back to 2020, what was it, 1 or 2022, when they faced off, 2021, it was the same exact response. The second he heard that Shield music, just something switched in him that was like back to that time of getting betrayed. So to have that moment and to have Roman just pick either I have my kingdom or I have my revenge finally. And the shots, like the photos of that chair shot, is going to live in WWE history from here on out. And it's important that that happens, because now that the match is over, now that the story has been finished, now that Cody has been champion, what happens next to the two people that has literally been carrying this brand for 10 years? And I'm talking about Seth and Roman. These are two wrestlers that we're not going to see for a while. Seth really needs to take time off to heal. He really does have the back injury. He really does have the knee injury. Him and Becky, if y'all haven't remembered, are parents. Their daughter is 1. Their daughter has been on the road with them every single event since she was born. I think this is the perfect time for Seth to go home, get healthy, spend time with your family, and then if you're ever ready to come back, or when you're ready, come back, and we are all going to embrace you with the same open arms. For the tribal chief, for the needle mover, for the head of the table, I don't know if we're going to get him back. He says, he put a tweet saying it's day 1 and he's working out. So it's a possibility. But the fact that he is still dealing with his leukemia, as he mentioned during the night 1 press conference, as the fact that he will likely never have another run at a title the way he had now, and the fact that nobody will probably have a run like that ever again, it's just like questions of, will we ever see Roman Reigns in a WWE ring again? Because he can retire right now and guarantee first ballot Hall of Famer as soon as he's eligible.
I mean, yeah, and everybody involved in this match is like deserves their flowers, from Cody Rhodes, who finished his story and he absolutely deserved it, to Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, even the referee Charles Robinson has a storied history at WrestleMania. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful. There is nothing else to really say. And I gotta say, man, like, being a wrestling fan right now, I could not have picked a better time to finally like watch wrestling and watch a WrestleMania. There is not a better time in history to be a professional wrestling fan than right now. So with that being said, WrestleMania 40, in my opinion, is the greatest WrestleMania of all time. It has the greatest main event of all time. It will hold on for centuries after. Like, when we look back at this WrestleMania, we'll still say greatest WrestleMania ever. They're not going to be able to top it. I don't think they will. Even last year, WrestleMania 39, it didn't feel like the greatest WrestleMania ever. It felt like a great WrestleMania, an awesome WrestleMania, but not the greatest ever. WrestleMania 40 lived up to his name of being the biggest WrestleMania of all time. A moniker that we did not think would ever live up to. And yet Triple H and every single one of those people who was involved, from the producers to the referees to the athletes to the talents that were involved in WrestleMania 40, the commentators, whoever was involved, they have a place in history.
Hearing Michael Cole say the words, hearing Michael Cole at the end of the broadcast saying the words, "Damn it, I love professional wrestling," that really ushered in that new era right there, saying that we're in for a wild ride of whatever the hell is next. Because, oh man, you can tell he was so passionate about what he said right there. That brought me right into it.
Yeah, and Michael Cole, again, storied history at WrestleMania. His heist of the century call is one of the greatest calls ever, and his calls there in WrestleMania 40 will live on forever. And look, point blank period, never a better time to be a wrestling fan. I can't wait till they come. If WWE comes down to Miami, I'll be there. Okay, no question. And I'm sure if they come down to wherever, to New York or Caleb, wherever you're from, it's gonna be absolutely cinema, and you will absolutely try to get tickets to be there. Parts unknown. We'll call it Death Valley. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this segment of Fight Pit here on House Call Sports. I am Sam. That is Justin. That is Caleb. Thank you guys for joining us. And